Hi all! In this video I wanna share with you my experience in getting German driving license and especially focus on the most difficult part, practical lessons and practical tests. To start from, I would like to share my experience with different driving schools. Big driving school in Munich city center and very small driving school in Bavarian countryside in Dachau area. And I want to say that it was much cheaper, easier and faster to get my driving license in the countryside. I've made a small table to show you the price differences. And as you can see, already for the registration you would pay almost double in Munich city center compared to Bavarian village. Every driving lessons is also about 20 euros cheaper. Besides, it is easier to pass your practical test if you do it, for example, here in Dachau than in the city center of Munich. At least from my experience, I found it much easier to drive here. And one of the most important factors, it is easier here to have your lessons on regular basis. Like in Munich, I had to wait sometimes a few weeks or even a month when one of the driving teachers was sick. So it is really hard to get an appointment. You have to plan your appointments months in advance. And because you have your lessons more often here, you would need much less lessons in total. So I really highly recommend, if you have an opportunity, try better countryside. And now I want to show you on a real life example what actual driving lesson in Germany looks like. What are the typical situations that you would face during your practical exercise and also during a test, and give you a couple of tips that I've collected that hopefully would make your driving teacher happy and also your tester. Let me quickly start with a driving school car. As you have for sure already seen, driving school cars in Germany have additional mirrors and they have additional pedals for braking, accelerating and clutch pedal. So the driving teacher can interfere every time when he is feeling insecure. If he is feeling particularly nervous, driving teacher would take over your steering wheel. And if this happens during your practical test, then unfortunately you would fail immediately. So something you want to assure never happens. So what are the most typical situations that you would face during your practical lesson? Driving in the city center and especially so-called 30er zone, 30 kilometers per hour zone, where you have to remember the rule right before left, super important. Then definitely you would face left turn. This is one of the slightly difficult parts.
Konzentrier dich, gell? Du weißt ja, links abbiegen ist kein Spaß. Jeder die Hälfte, gell? Also wir die Hälfte und die Hälfte der Linksabbieger aus der Gegenrichtung. Wenn jetzt der Linksabbieger aus der Gegenrichtung dir die Sicht verdeckt, wie tief muss dann in die Gegenverkehr trotzdem noch schauen können?
Die Hälfte ist nicht so schnell wie sie fahren.
Den musst du durchlassen, bleib doch stehen. Ja. Dann musst du jetzt stehen bleiben. Jetzt kannst du fahren.
You would definitely have so-called Einbahnstraße, one-way street, and you would have to turn left. So you would practice this one a lot. Then you would have overland driving. So you would have at least 5 overland driving lessons that are required by law to get your driving license.
Ja.
You would also have Autobahnfahrten, driving over highway. At least 4 of those are required by law.
Jetzt pass auf, da ist ein Einfädelungsstreifen, dritter Gang bis 90. Gib Gas, dritter Gang bis 90, Schulterblick öfters links. Du fährst drüber, weiche Lenkbewegung und jetzt musst du im fünften.
And also required by law, Nachtfahrt, night driving lessons. What are the important things that Your driving teacher pay particular attention to so-called Schulterblick, look over your shoulder.
Jetzt, ja, den musst du nicht während dem Losfahren, sondern du hast praktisch auf der Hälfte der Kurve, die wir jetzt gefahren sind, hast geschaut. Du musst das vor dem Losfahren machen.
If you forget this when you start your car during your driving test, you might even fail, and you might also fail your exam if you forget to do it twice in some really critical situations where it's important.
Man will es ja haben, dass das sich reflexartig entwickelt, das Verhalten mit dem Schulterblick, weil dann gewährleistet es, dass man auch immer dann macht, wenn er unerlässlich ist. Ne? Und ich meine, man bricht sich ja dabei nicht den Hals, ne, wenn man einen Schulterblick macht.
So your tester is definitely watching this. Speed. Very often you hear from your driving teacher that you are driving too fast, or at least it wasn't my experience.
Also denk dran, die Geschwindigkeit so gestalten, dass du auch klar kommst an Stellen, wo du vorher noch nicht genug sehen kannst. Gell?
Ja.
Siehst du das rote Auto, genau?
Ja, sehe ich.
Ja, wunderbar. Das ist ja schon mal schön.
Except for the highway. The speed you should choose when driving on the highway is 130 kilometers per hour, so-called Richtgeschwindigkeit, the speed suggested to you by law. And if you're driving much slower than that, you would also fail on your practical test. What else is important? My driving teacher says all the time, keep your both hands on steering wheel.
Ich meine, ja, siehst du, mit einer Hand lenken, mit der anderen Hand rumrühren.
Your teacher would also tell you to watch out, you have the right gear.
Oder soll sich wohlfühlen. Ja? Einer wenigstens soll das tun.
What about the exam? Since recently the practical test takes 55 minutes and it would consist of at least 2 so-called Grundfahrtaufgaben, basic driving skill test like turning your car or parking your car, and the tester can choose which kind of parking situation he prefers, and obviously emergency braking. If you're wondering whether you can do your practical test in English or other language, as I've learned from my driving teacher, it's unfortunately impossible usually. But you can check out on TÜV website and you would find not too many, about 30 basic words that you can memorize for your practical test, and by knowing only these words it could be sufficient. I'll leave the link to this list in the video description. And as my driving teacher mentioned, it is not allowed to bring any kind of interpreter.
Nein, das ist nicht erlaubt. Auch der Rechtsanwalt darf nicht mitfahren und auch keine lebendigen Glücksbringer.
So if you have any questions about getting your German driving license, please let me know in comments and I'll double check with my driving teacher and I'll make sure to answer whatever information you need. Thank you very much for watching and good luck with your practical test.